Okay, now we're going to talk about writing algebraic expressions. So we're writing expressions using our algebra notation. So it's going to be important to kind of be able to sort of decode in these words what exactly they're trying to get us to do with them. Excuse me, yawning here. All right, so let's look at some of these and just see if we can figure it out. So it says a number x. All right, so I know what my variable is. My variable is x greater than 8. All right, so whenever you see greater than, that's adding. That means they're adding, right? Or greater or more than is another way of adding. They might say add, they might say sum. So these are all the different kind of cue words that you might find for addition, right? So a number x greater than 8. There you go. That's it. All right. 7 less than the product of v and 9. Now, the product of v and 9, some of you might write v times 9, but remember, when we have terms, we always put the number first, all right? So that's going to be 9v, and then we know we have 7, and then less than should imply to subtraction. But what I want to talk to you, and this is kind of important, is think about order. All right? So if I said you have 7 less than 10, right? If I said 7 less than 10 and said, what do I have? Most of you pretty much immediately would say, well, that's equal to 3. And the reason you'd say that is because somewhere in your head you went 10 minus 7. So notice that when you have this less than, that's almost a way of us telling that this comes second, right? It comes second. Doesn't come first, it comes second. So 7 less than the product of v and 9 means that the 7 is going to come after my 9v. So you're going to have 9v minus 7, and then that's what you have. So be careful when you see that less than. When you see minus, then you can do those left to right. But when you see less than, you got to read it and make sure that you're putting it in correctly. And there's a lot of little ways that you can make mistakes with these. All right, the sum of 3/4 of x and 12. So how would I write 3/4 of x? Well, 3/4 of x, if you say 1/2 of something, it just means 1/2 times something. So 3/4 of x is just saying 3/4 times x, and that's how we write that. And then if we have sum, we know we have an addition problem. And then the and tells us where the next part's going to be, so and 12. So you have 3/4 x plus 12. The quotient of 45 and r, well, quotient is a division problem, all right? And then when we write division problems in algebra, and I jokingly in my classes will call it big boy and big girl math, right? We no longer use the division signs. We are going to write division problems as fractions. So the quotient of 45 and r basically means that if we were to use this division sign, it would be 45 divided by r, but we're going to write it as a fraction, so we're going to go 45 divided by r. And remember, the one on the left goes on top. That's your numerator. That is called your dividend, and then your divisor goes on the bottom. All right. So let's see what else we got here. K squared minus 11. Well, that's pretty straightforward. K squared is just k times k. K squared minus 11. That's it. All right, 9 times a number less 35. All right, so 9 times a number could be 9n, and then less 35 means you're just taking 35 away from it. Not to be confused with putting the less than like what we did earlier. All right, this one left to right works absolutely fine. So as you're probably seeing, there are a ton of ways you can get tripped up on these, but there isn't like a magic algorithm or something I can give you to make these easier. But what I can tell you is just read through them slowly, do as many of them as you can so that you can see all the different ways of writing things. And when you do see something written differently, kind of take note of it, think about it, and go, oh, that was interesting that they wrote that like that. I wonder why they did that. And and look into it, because these things do have different names and different ways of expressing themselves, and so that's why we want to be exposed to as much of that as possible. All right, so good luck on these.